right. Hello, everyone. Welcome back to another edition of What's Happening Now with CNI Solutions. Hey, as always, remember to go ahead and share and like this broadcast. As you know, there might be someone out there who can use this information that we might be putting out tonight. And always, don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel, Brewster, our YouTube, and all of our social media platforms, LinkedIn, Twitter, and Instagram. You know, we are on all of those. All right. We did make some changes for our upcoming entrepreneur class because of the summer and the many vacations that were going on. We decided we're going to go ahead and push that class back to August 4th. August 4th. We're going to push that class back to August 4th. And those of you all who ain't doing nothing on those days, by all means, go on out there and check that out. There's things for you to do in the summertime, and there it is. So tonight's guest, ladies and gentlemen, we got someone very special tonight here. We have Miss Brianna Lockett from First Bank, and your title is what, ma'am?
A community development manager.
All right. So tell us a little bit about what all does that entail?
Yeah, so with being a development manager, we're really wanting to grow home ownership in the communities that we serve. And I think the biggest thing is that when you think of growing communities, people forget when you buy a house, you're building generational wealth.
Right.
So we try to make sure that is our main point in what we serve.
Outstanding. So I know there's a lot of first-time buyers out there in the community, and especially in the communities that you're trying to target. Can you tell us what is something that they need to know if this is going to be a first-time home buyer?
With a first-time home buyer, it can feel like so much. I mean, it's just what loan program, where you start, how much you're approved. I mean, and then of course you're hearing all the craziness about the housing market. There's just so much that, people can hear. But the main thing that first-time home buyers really need to do is talk to a trusted advisor, talk to a lender, talk to your mortgage loan officer, and ask the questions, instead of asking grandpa's cousin's sister's aunt who, might not be in the lending business, ask someone who does this, like myself, who can help.
Right.
The main thing is before you start looking, get pre-approved. See what you want your mortgage payment to be. You don't want to be looking at houses that your mortgage payment is going to be, maybe $1,000 more than what you're used to paying in rent now.
Right.
So getting pre-approved is the first step before looking. You've got to make sure that you know what it entails. You got to make sure that you're not over budgeting yourself on a mortgage. Nobody wants to be mortgage broke. I mean, I don't want to buy a new house, but all I can do is sit in it. So, So getting pre-approved is the best start. And I always say to get pre-approved early. If you've got a lease, say, ending in September, you need to be pre-approved now, because you might need to know what your down payment is. You might need to know closing costs. Say you've got some issues with credit that you might need to work out in the next 2 months. You've got some time. So getting pre-approved earlier is probably the best thing I would tell a first-time home buyer at the beginning.
Okay.
Oh, Bruce Charles. Wow. Thanks, Charles. So what I did do, I went ahead and crossed off my grandpa's sister's cousin. So I'll stop getting information from them. The pre-approval process, right? So what's included in that process when it comes to pre-approval? What do a person have to do?
Yeah. So on a day-to-day basis, for instance, when I get it, you fill out the application. The application consists of name, social security number, date of birth, address, job, and then we ask for additional documentations. Typically for someone who is not self-employed, now that's a different ball game. But as someone who is a W-2 worker, we would ask for your copy of your driver's license, 2 most recent pay stubs, your W-2s, and then of course bank statements.
Okay.
So that's the documentation we would ask with the application. So then that really plugs in the whole story of it, and then we could see what loan program would best fit for them.
Okay. So when it comes to, for people who make, let's say, $50,000 or less, or potentially $60,000 less, are there any special programs that are available? What is it that you all offer? Is it just a standard program?
Yeah, no. So there's plenty of loan programs, and they're each going to fit your story. So there are programs that we at First Bank that offer for 100% financing. So that would be no down payment. You're only responsible for closing costs. But there also are other DPA programs. Actually, the city of Huntsville has a down payment assistance program as well. So you're able to use that. Now, they do have a couple of stipulations with it, but that's always an option. There's a loan called Alabama Housing. That is, you take out the money for your down payment and closing costs. They give you, X amount depending on the situation. And so there's definitely options to, if you don't have a down payment, don't let that scare you from not applying, because there are loan programs that do help people that cannot have that.
Okay. So each one of those programs potentially pretty much has a different prerequisites for
Yes,
them.
yes.
Okay. So what about a veteran like myself? What is it like for a veteran to come into First Bank, right, and request a loan, and potentially they're making $40,000 a year, mid-level credit 650. So what would you say to someone like that?
Yeah, so the good thing about our system is we're able to compare loan programs. So say for instance, you're coming to me and saying, VA, that's what I want. But then I actually see that, say, FHA has a better rate. So lower your monthly payment, but you might have to come out of pocket a little bit, but that might be worth it for you to have a lower monthly payment. So we can always compare. If you came in wanting VA, we're able to send you, we call it a loan estimate, and it's just going to show an estimate of your payment and closing costs. And then we can also, show you different loan products that we might see that fits best.
Right.
And that kind of goes back to the beginning of it is having a trusted advisor, because that's when if I saw your profile and looked at it like, I think something might be better, that's when I would know to switch.
That's awesome.
So you made a profound statement earlier. You mentioned that there's other programs out there, and even the city of Huntsville has a program to whereas they will take care of the down payment for you. Now, other than the platform that we're using here at CNI Solutions on what's happening now, how do our viewers out there, how does someone know that type of information? Because I didn't even know nothing about that until you just mentioned it. So how would someone even know that information if they're looking to buy a home and they say like, man, I really want to stop paying rent. I'm throwing $1,200, $1,300 out the window at this apartment building. I want to get my own house, but I don't have money for a down payment. If you had not been here to express that to myself and to all of our viewers out there, how would someone even know that something like that exists? Is there a place that someone goes to find that information?
Well,
I didn't say that. It was Charles.
Well, I think that really is the stigma that goes around buying a house.
Yes.
It really is. You think, I know when I bought my first house, this is before I got into the mortgage business. I've been in the banking business since I graduated college, but I, still didn't know any of this. I thought I would have to have 20% down. That's what I feel like everyone thinks.
Yes.
And so the biggest thing is not being scared to apply, because I know for myself, if I have someone that applies that might not be ready now, I always tell them this: homeownership starts with a plan. You've got to get a plan in place. Say you might not qualify for some of the loan programs that do help with assistance. Well, let's say you need X amount for a down payment now. That gives you a goal. That gives you somewhere to start. But I really just think it's the stigma around buying a home. People are so scared to just apply and see what it is. I'll give a great example. I had a young gentleman who applied with me last June. So June of 2021.
Right.
Credit need worked. We needed reserves. Some programs require you to have first month mortgage saved. So we needed some of that, different things going on with his profile. He closed on his house last month.
Wow.
So yes, it took a little bit and it took some time, but we started with a plan. We met with each other, say every 2 or 3 months, see where we're at. And he got to close on his house. Wow. So it might not be something you can do now, but it's something you can do in the future.
So you really are taking, speaking for yourself, you take a vested interest in your clients who come to you that their credit score may not be the most perfect thing, and they got some things going on, but you say, you know what, we can work with you.
Yes.
It's going to take us a few months, but we're going to get there. Here's what we need to do. You start doing this, we'll revisit this issue in 3 months, see where we're at. Then we'll revisit this issue again and see where we're at. You know what? I think we're ready to start making some moves now. And I think that's awesome.
Yeah.
I think that is awesome because way too often I've seen people get that denial letter and that's it.
Yeah.
It's just, nope, I'm sorry, we can't help you right now. You're denied.
Right.
But there hasn't been someone like yourself who says, hey, you are denied, but let's sit down. We're going to work on a plan because I want to get you into that home.
Right. Well, it goes back to, I want to see, young people like myself or whoever starting their generational wealth. I want to see them getting into a home. I mean, I looked at the rent prices here in Huntsville. I was mind blown. I mean, it's crazy when you can own a home for what you're paying in rent.
Whew.
I mean, it is just, and a nice home at that.
Yes.
Some of these apartments now are just.
They're $1,500, $1,600,
Yeah.
$1,700.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's a nice house.
And I could only imagine with all these newer apartments that are going up around Huntsville,
Yeah.
what they're going to go for.
Yeah.
Wow.
Right.
That is something. Viewers, those of you who are out there who's getting all this great information
Excuse me.
from Miss Lockett, if you have any questions, by all means, don't be afraid to put it into the chat. Our producer will get it, and she will get it to us, and we will present that question on the air so we can get an answer, because it just may be a case that your question is the same question that somebody else may have who is viewing this program, who may be viewing this program later on, and who's been wanting to buy their home and didn't know where to start or how to start, and didn't know that there are people such as Ms. Breonna Lockett who actually takes a vested interest in ensuring that you get into a home.
That's
Brewster?
right. So let's talk interest rates.
Okay.
So for a first-time buyer, and in today's world, today's market, what are interest rates like?
So it's really going to depend on each loan program. But you are starting to see, we're not seeing the 3% that we saw
Right,
in
yes.
2020. I know some people apply and they're like, wait, not 3%. I was like, oh, that's long gone. You are starting to see some situations where it's, on up into 5%. And so the big thing I would emphasize on that is interest rates are going to probably keep still going up. We haven't seen them really slow down.
Wow.
So, now if you are going to buy, would be a good time to with that too.
So follow up. If my credit score were potentially, let's see, 780,
Mhm.
would that affect my interest rate?
Yes, you do get a lower rate when your scores are above a certain threshold. Now, it's not going to change within 5 points. So it's certain thresholds that you've got to meet.
Okay.
So now if someone's a 650 and a 680, you're still going to get the same one. I believe it, like I said, each program has a different one, but
Right.
really you're going to see the difference as in low sixes and then low sevens will be
Mhm.
different interest rates.
Right. So let me ask you this. I had a young lady in here probably about a few weeks ago, and she was telling me about she wanted to buy a home. And she had mentioned that her bank account was very, very robust.
Okay.
But she said that they declined her for a home. And my thoughts were it had to been probably her credit score itself. How important is your credit score when you're buying this home? Is there a minimum number that someone at least has to meet? You have to have at least a 600 or at least a 630 before any lender is going to look at you, no matter how much money you have in the bank.
Yes, so that still kind of goes back to each loan program will be different. But for FHA, which is requires a 3.5% down payment, that loan program does require, it says a 600, but we like to see people a little higher than that because the rate is really, really kind of low, and you also have to buy the rate.
Mhm.
So that would add on to viewers who might not know what buying that rate is that you might have to pay to get a certain rate. So if you're right at 600, so FHA does say 600, but 620 is probably where I like to put it at, just because you're not having to pay the extra for your rate. So that would be the lowest of any program. But our 100% program here at First Bank is a minimum 630,
Mhm.
and then other loan programs will be a minimum of 640.
And exactly what is the 100% program at First Bank?
Yeah, so our 100% program, we have no income limits with it. It is 100% loan to value, so no down payment. You are responsible for closing costs. And now your closing costs will differ, from the loan amount, of course, and where you're buying a home and things like that. And then it does base off of the area that you're living in Huntsville, in Madison County. And we have a set interest rate for that. So if your score is from 630 to 720, or 719, it's a set rate. Then 720 and above is a set rate.
Okay.
So that does fluctuate a little bit here and there, but it does not have PMI insurance on it.
Oh, wow.
So that's a good thing when it's coming to that. So
Right.
Yeah.
Outstanding, Brewster.
Oh, I'm just Ryan. Look, so was that with a 12-month history? credit history. What does credit history look like? Is that, I know we was discussing earlier, like 12 months worth of credit history.
Well, we really want to see it. I hate to keep saying it depends on the loan program.
This is good. This is good.
But we really want to see that you can handle, paying bills on time.
Mhm.
There are certain programs that you can do a rental history. So we add non-traditional trade lines. So say you've got 2 credit cards you've had, but you need another traditional or a non-traditional trade line. We can add rental history, your cell phone bill, car insurance. If you've had it for say the last 12 months, if that's what we're looking for that program, then we can do that.
Okay,
So it's not always, taking out extra debt. You can get those non-traditional trade lines. The rental history is a very good one because obviously if you're paying your rent on time, you're going to pay your mortgage on time too.
Right.
That's good stuff, Charles.
Okay. You mentioned, excuse me.
Mhm.
You mentioned that some of your programs require to be in a particular demographic. What do you mean by that?
So it really is going to be based on, say for our instance, our 100% loan goes off of the GeoMap for the address. And that's something that your realtor would definitely be able to help you out on seeing if that qualifies, say that loan that you're wanting to make an offer on. I've had some realtors call me, hey, Brianna, does this qualify for your 100%? And I give them the yay or nay.
Mhm.
So if it doesn't, we have backup plans for a different 100% program as well. So we can see if that fits. So you're not really left stranded if it doesn't. We do have other options as well.
Okay. All right. I know earlier when we were sitting here talking pre-warm-up or pre-game, as we like to call it up in here, Brewster was talking a little bit about your loan being sold. What is that, and what does that mean to you as the consumer or the buyer or the homeowner?
Yeah, so every bank and every mortgage company, they're going to sell and buy loans. It depends on what they need on their portfolio. So each bank is going to be different. We don't know that as loan officers. We're not made aware of when, if a loan's going to get sold, why, where,
Right.
things like that. But it's not a scary thing in a sense because if it's getting sold, you're still keeping your same loan information.
Mhm.
You're just changing your payments. Unfortunately, it does kind of stink if a loan does get sold because you're got everything already set up and
Right.
things like that. But it's kind of a little bit out of us as loan officers spectrum to kind of control.
Right.
Unfortunately, I'd keep them all in house if it's up to me.
Right. Yeah, that is something there. From an aspect of a homeowner, okay, and you're my loan officer, and you say, congratulations, Charles. You just closed on that home. Here's your keys, how many, all that good stuff. At that point, does the bank have any type of authority of the personnel who live in that home?
I do not believe no, because you wouldn't. So I just want to make sure I clarify it for the people watching too. So you're saying that you buy a home and then I'm living in it, say for instance. No. So the bank doesn't really have control over, of course, who's living in it. I mean, you bought it as your primary residence.
Right.
And say I'm just living there for a couple months, situational. I've never seen it to where a bank would come and say, no, someone can't live there.
Right.
But I would, if that is a question, if someone does have a question like that, I would love to review if they've gotten something from a bank, because that's unheard of for me. I don't know if that would.
Right.
Yeah, I'm trying to think of a situation where I've had that, and I'm like, I don't think so.
Maybe it depends on the program.
Depends on the program.
Hey, there we go. Don't steal my line now.
All right. Hey, folks, again, those of you out there who's looking to buy your home for the first time, or you got those questions, please get them to our producer, and our producer will go ahead and answer those. Most Ricky Tick. She's pretty much over that pretty good. Brewster, what you got?
I tell you what, I'm sitting here, right? What does the future hold? What kind of potential? Gosh, this is a tough one. because we spoke of some programs that are changing, right? And I don't want to really get into it because I think we kind of just said that we would not. But boy, I'm itching. Good Lord. What can you say? Is there anything you can say? You know.
Are you saying the future of
Yeah.
saying the
What-
housing market? What
Well,
you want to know about the
probably
future?
probably more so in the future of First Bank and
Mm.
where First Bank is going to help the community to get into homes.
Hey.
Now that falls on me
Okay.
here in Huntsville.
Right.
The one thing that I do truly love about First Bank, and I feel like a lot of people can't say that sometimes about their jobs and mean it, but I love their initiative to helping homeowners. I've never been with an institution that cares as much as they do. I see them going above and beyond to help people. You know, if I've had situational files that might not be ready now, I can always send it up to my manager, get a response back in, you know, a quick, timely manner to say, hey, I'm just looking at this. What are your thoughts on this?
Right.
Well, you need to tell me X, Y, and Z. You know, we're not a company that's just like, oh, it's a denial. Let's just move on. And so we genuinely care about building generational wealth. And our slogan is helping others get to a better place. And I truly believe that we live by that.
Outstanding. Excuse me. First Bank is not just here in Alabama. Where are all of your branches?
Yeah, so we're based in Nashville, Tennessee. We have a branch here in Huntsville. It's actually downtown. And we're in Tennessee, Alabama, Georgia, and Kentucky.
Okay.
Yep,
Great.
that's our footprint.
Great.
Okay, so here we go. Let's dive deep here. Okay. Traditionally, I'll say this. African Americans have had issues when it comes to getting fair looks when it comes to home ownership.
Yeah, it's fair lending.
Yeah, yes. So what can you tell me about that? What's your viewpoint on that? Or is there a viewpoint on that? And I know that you do deal with African Americans probably on a regular. So, you know, lift me up. Lift my spirits
Yeah,
up,
most
please.
definitely. So we actually had a good presentation about this when our whole mortgage department got back together back in March. And we talked about the gap that you're seeing in minority buyers and non-minorities.
Mhm.
And I truly think, if you want my honest opinion, it stems from not knowing what's out there, not understanding home ownerships, not being taught the like, say for instance, you know, you've grown up and mom and dad have never owned a house. Well, unfortunately, they're not teaching how to buy a house.
Mm.
You know, so I think it really stems from that. And I hate that even when I was in college, not getting taught stuff like that.
Right.
Why is it, you know, we need more seminars in colleges. We need more things, especially to educate people. And I really think it's going back to the stigma of maybe just not knowing,
Right.
and I see that in minority buyers that they might not have the support. And now, of course, I'm not saying all, you know, just kind of showing what we've seen, but
Right.
maybe not having the support to show, hey, you know, this is how you do it. Because we have these kids who are graduating from, you know, Alabama A&M, Oakwood, and these HBCU colleges who are doing very well for themselves. Stop paying that much money in rent. You know, it's out there, but it's just maybe not being taught that it is. So that's what I'm seeing.
So your institution that you work for, it's being talked about in the conference in the boardroom. So how does it get? Because even Charles just mentioned about even when it comes to the NDA,
Mhm.
and of course the USDA and all those A's that we're talking about. Okay, what is your institution doing to help with that? How are they getting the word out? Which obviously will bring more potential business and long-term income and wealth to that institution. What are they doing?
So, and it kind of goes back to how much I love First Bank, but we have to be involved in things around the community.
Mhm.
We have to, I can't remember off the top of my head how many things, but we have to be active in the community, because the more you're active, you know, doing things like this, or I could have hit a buyer who's got 10 friends who might think about this.
Mhm.
So being active in the community is one thing that they push. We want to support anything. If I was to call my boss right now and say, hey, I want to do this luncheon, I want us to be a sponsor. Got it, done. Because community involvement is just such a big thing. And I think that's where it's really helping to get out the word
Right.
that, hey, you can buy a home. And there's more people like me that at our bank who don't just take denials and run with it.
Right.
They truly care about what's going on.
Awesome.
Outstanding.
All
Outstanding.
right.
Outstanding.
Well, that's action,
Yeah.
and that's what minority communities,
Mhm.
and not just minority community. There are those all around that need assistance, but I know overwhelmingly the numbers are higher within minority communities, because there's a stigma.
Yeah.
There is
Mhm.
this preconception that, hey, they're not ready.
Yeah.
And I'm glad to hear that someone is doing something about it.
Right.
So, and you're also welcome to come and join us one of these events that we're having and just wave your flag and,
Don't be scared.
Yes, absolutely.
Yes.
Right.
And that you've actually said it too, brought up a discussion, but people will come to me and say, well, I'm not ready yet, but they've got, a 700 credit score, been on their job for 5 years, got some money in the bank. And I'm thinking, why are you not ready? Well, so-and-so told me that I've got to do this.
Mm.
So it goes back to the hearsay. And I'm like,
Right.
I just sent you your pre-approval letter. What do
Right.
you mean?
Yeah.
So it's the stigma around buying a house.
Exactly.
Yeah,
Exactly.
and for people that are out there, one thing my son is really good at is refinancing. And I think I saw that on your site, refinancing loan.
Yes.
So as the interest rates change, you can refinance and get a low interest rate,
Right.
and
Yep.
lower your payments and overall cost.
Right.
So
Right. Yeah, so don't let the interest rates being a little high now scare you.
Right.
Because it's better to buy now and
Right.
say in 2 months when they've gone up even higher, or if they do, go up a significant amount,
right.
you're getting a lower payment now than,
Right.
then.
Right.
So.
That is awesome.
Well, I
That
hit
is,
the gavel. I rest my case.
that is awesome. That is awesome. So, when we're talking about the LMI communities and the minorities and home buying, what is the best way, other than family, but what is the best way for them to get educated on home buying?
It's really going to be talking to your trusted advisor. That's what it's always going to stem down to, because people like myself, I have a PowerPoint I'll send people who would just simple first-time home buying things, not really going too complex, because I don't want to overload them, because the mortgage industry, it's a lot, but asking the questions, not being scared to ask questions, because you don't know what you don't know. I mean, you've got to reach out, you've got to see. And also another big thing, I can't believe I didn't hit on it before. If you're graduating college and you've already got a job, you've got that offer letter in hand, we can use college experience as well as job history.
Wow.
So that's another thing. These college students are getting out and they're thinking, wait, I can't buy a house. I got to stay on my job for 2 years.
Right. Wow.
So, and that's actually,
awesome.
yeah.
Yeah. But I will tell you, I don't necessarily agree with it, but it happens. And the reason why I say I don't necessarily agree with it. My youngest brother, who's now in his 40s, right? When he was in college, he received so much financial, cards, credit, all that. It was like he had a job. He didn't have a job. Tommy didn't have a job, right? And I was like, okay, he bought a car, and I was like, Tommy, he doesn't have a job, But what it did, and if you're not smart, right, it young people, if you're 18 or whatever it might be, producer, you end up with a bunch of debt that you can't get, that, and especially if you have college debt and all those things. Next thing your debt ratio is so high,
So the good thing about that, and I'll
Mhm.
kind of piggyback off that, because I see your point on why I would be like, wait, I remember when I was 21 out of college, I'm like,
Mhm.
woo, stop in that car. No, I'm just kidding.
Uh-huh.
But the good thing about that is going back to that trusted advisor and knowing what you want in a mortgage payment. Do not let anybody go over what you're comfortable with.
Right.
Each loan program has a max debt to income ratio,
Right.
including a student loan payment. Each of them are different on what you have to put for that, but
Right.
Not going over what you're comfortable. If you tell this, because one of the things that I do is when people apply with me, I say, what is your comfortable mortgage payment and what is your max? Because those are, two different things.
Right.
So I will send a pre-approval for your max, because then you'll know not to go over that. If you come back to me and say, hey, Brianna, I want to buy a house for $50,000 more, I'm going to have a serious talk, because then you're going over the max that you told me. You're getting out of your comfort zone,
Right.
and you're putting yourself in a position to be quote unquote mortgage broke.
Yeah.
Right.
So that's what trusting is. You know what you're comfortable with. Don't let the market push you to try and buy something that is out of your comfort zone, because this is your first home. You can have this home, stay in it for 5-7 years, turn around and get something really nice, because then guess what? When you sell that home, that's cash in your pocket.
Right. Right.
And
So you did mention something about student loans. What if Brewster here, this young lad, what if he's trying to buy his first home and he has student loans that are in forbearance?
Okay.
Will that affect him from getting a home?
No, it will not. No. So the only thing that affects you with getting a home with student loans is if they're in deferment. Now, this means that you just haven't paid them.
Right.
You haven't done the paperwork to sign up for a payment plan, and they're now with the government. So you cannot do now. Deferment and forbearance are two different things. Sometimes they get confused a little.
Right.
But being in forbearance, because everyone's in forbearance, we know that. So typically, if you do one loan program, it's used 0.5% of the balance as a payment. And then also too, if it's a debt to income issue, we can pay off stuff at closing, which actually sets you up for better success, because you're moving in the house with less debt.
Where does that go on the loan? Front side, back side?
You pay it off like in cash. Like, say for instance, someone needs.
It equates to a loan, right?
No, it does not go in with your loan. No, that's your closing. Like, it goes in with your closing cost.
Oh.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So say for instance, someone's doing a new build house and it's not going to be done for 6 months. But say they've got a car payment that's got 6 months left to pay on it. But we need to add that extra $500 in with their debt to income ratio. We can mark it as pay off at closing. And so then it'll be paid off at closing, but you'll just bring extra, closing cost money. And then you're able to get the house that fits in that.
So can I work that into that DPA City of Huntsville?
I believe so, but I'd have to double check with them. Now, I don't know if they go that far.
Just checking. I'm with you.
Right?
I'm listening. So let me follow up on these two words, right? Trusted advisor. I've heard it probably a few times, right? So, but my grandpa's sister's cousin says, and they're still my trusted advisor, they said that I shouldn't go out there and acquire more debt, because I can just stay with them. So I guess what I'm getting, can you break down a trusted advisor for the viewers? Who is because my grandpa's sister's cousin is my trusted advisor still.
Well, I can say that about my mama. So if my mama says.
So where can I find one?
Well, so with kind of going to the definition of a trusted advisor, it's going to be someone who lives, eats, and breathes this. Someone who's going to actually know all of the answers to what they see on a daily basis.
Right.
We see different scenarios. So every loan is different. Every application is different. You might come in, Charles, and have X, Y, and Z, but I'm going to remember it for someone else who comes in and has X, Y, and Z.
Right.
So I know how to work them out. I think it still goes back to the stigma of it is, you hear this, you hear that from so many different people. Get with someone who knows like the industry, who knows what's going on in it. And so, but still listen to your grandma, sister's cousins, but maybe I can help them too.
Yeah. So for those viewers who are out there and who are potentially within the region that you control, and they want to get started, and they find that they want to work with you because you have shown to be so personable and trying to help people get into homes. How can they reach you?
Can I be their trusted advisor?
Maybe let me put you through some training real quick.
All right.
Feel free to reach me. Call me, text me, email me. I would love to set up some time to talk. I know this is actually my favorite thing to do is have conversations with first-time home buyers because I like breaking it down so where you understand.
Right.
I kind of always play back to my first time buying a home. Now in the mortgage business, I'm like, why did I do that? Why did I think that? But nobody sat with me and spoke about everything. So I kind of take that now as I'm going to make a point to do that. So come with all the questions, ask everything. Don't be scared to ask stuff. No question is stupid. It's the mortgage world's pretty crazy. So I've probably heard it before if you asked.
Great views. Y'all heard that. If you're interested in getting to a home and if you live in this area, please give Miss Brianna Lockett a call and she will work with you. I know our producer put her information into the chat. If you're late viewing, just scroll through that chat and you can get her information from out of that chat so that you can contact her. She's open, she's ready. She's trying to get you into your home. Brewster?
Thank you.
Yes.
I really, every guest that we do have here, there's something special about them. There's something that they bring to the viewers, and especially for those viewers who haven't seen this yet. Mm-hmm. And that's what we're really hoping, that this information gets to someone that's in need. For those in that share and like really means a lot. The digital world is something awesome. Regardless of how long you stay at that particular institution, that particular business, the information that you put out is super. Right. And especially don't be afraid to pursue your dream when it comes to home ownership.
Yes.
It is definitely a great investment. And that's it. Thank you. Thank you so much.
Thank you for having me.
Team, remember, just like Brewster said, please share this broadcast with friends and family for those who are looking to buy a home or get into a home. And even if they don't live here, the information that Ms. Lockett has been providing is something that you can use in Texas, Arizona, California, Pennsylvania, Virginia, wherever you're at.
Talladega.
Even the great state of Talladega. But it's good information that someone could use. Ms. Brianna, any closing remarks that you could add, that you would like to add?
I really think I really hope that I was educational and made you a little less scared of buying a home, but really just start. Don't let time pass. You might be way more ready than you already are. It doesn't hurt to start the application. Right. And get to know what options you do have out there.
Great.
Okay, that's a t-shirt.
Definitely, we appreciate you coming in here this evening.
Yes, thank you for having me.
To speak with our viewers, so those out there who need this great information, I think it's going to be awesome. I think you might get a lot of phone calls because there are some people out there who are scared. Yep. There are some people who don't know the answers, and I just think it's phenomenal how you actually take time to work with those who aren't the most perfect person, and you work with them to get them to that place where they can get into that home. Yes, that is awesome. So thank you. Team, as always, remember, your yesterday is not your today, and your today is not your tomorrow. Good night.